What is up? How are you now? Hope you're having a good one. The game rank news from last week. Judging by the title, Xbox responds. It'll be an update from a segment I did last week on Redfall. And I've heard about the update, so I'm curious what they say about it, but I have heard about it. And then cheater gets biggest punishment ever, which I think actually happened a little more than a week ago, but I believe I heard about. So we'll see what the news last week was. Let's get into it.
Hey folks, today is Friday, May 5th, 2023. As usual, my name is Jake Baldino, here to talk about all the video game news that has been going on this week. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, I'm in a different place. It's the traveling road of
He's on the road.
games.
It doesn't look like The Office. He's not wrong.
So let's just jump right in. The first thing, if you pay attention to any headlines, it's probably been Redfall.
And by Redfall, he means the absolute atrocity that is the reviews of Redfall that have come out so far, because the game has not been well received.
Redfall dropped this week.
There's a whole video about it. I already did that.
What's the word? Seems like critics aren't liking it. It seems like a lot of fans are pretty disappointed with it, especially Arcane fans.
The critics and fans finally agree on something.
Straight up, I didn't like it. I came out and said that. I'm not like a rage reviewer, so I didn't freak out about it, but ultimately, I found the game unfortunately boring and dull. That being said, it seems like Xbox fans have been itching for something for a while, and we're happy to just jump into
boring and dull.
New.
I mean, that's
and with all the
bad
disappointments
for something in the entertainment space, right? Like, boring and dull may be the worst thing something in the entertainment space can be labeled. That's pretty scathing for being very mild words, right?
Hitting the airwaves, essentially. Head of Xbox Gaming, Phil Spencer, did take to an interview, like right up front. He spoke with Kinda Funny. I listened to the whole interview. I thought it was all right, and we
see. And what's interesting about this is I'm willing to bet that Phil Spencer set this up for Xbox to promote the fact that they announced their summer showcase. That was probably what he wanted to do when he set up going on this podcast initially, but I don't know when he scheduled it. I imagine he schedules things fairly far out, being, the CEO of a large company, but unfortunately, this may have shadowed what he actually wanted to talk about on the podcast. But he did address it pretty straightforward from what I've read and seen. So, I mean, that's good.
We'll link that interview and everything else I talk about down in the description below. And the official response from Microsoft or Xbox and the head is that the game isn't up to their standards and they're sorry.
Just
I mean, there's a lot of
mark
talk here, and I do think it's an interesting interview just to hear, the headspace.
CEOs will do last minute as well. I mean, right. I mean, if something's bad enough that it demands an immediate response, they will. And like I said, I don't know how this played out, but I do know that they scheduled the summer event and released the information for the summer event around the same time the Redfall thing happened. And this is actually probably a lot bigger deal than it seems like at the surface, because it's just a bad game review and it didn't do well, didn't meet standards, whatever. But at the same time, this is the first major release Xbox has gotten out since they've gotten Bethesda, and this probably is going to put a lot of pressure on Starfield to deliver, because if this happens and Starfield goes badly, people are going to start looking at it holistically as Xbox cannot run publishers and studios, and this is going to be the trend out of anything Xbox owns studio publisher wise. So this sets a very bad precedent early on in Xbox's gaining of publishers and studios as to where their development procedures are.
Charge of the games and stuff that we play, but ultimately listening to Phil talk and him kind of saying it, and also just seeing the game itself, it seems like Microsoft needs to maybe rethink how they evaluate games up to their lead up, because according to Phil Spencer in this interview, they were actually caught by surprise once the game released and got bad
See,
reviews.
and
They
that's
do a bunch
a
of
big
internal
issue.
testing and mock reviews and stuff on the inside. All game developers and publishers do, but for them to not see this one coming, interesting. I don't really know if that was really the case, but he was also candid about the fact that when they announced the game was going to be 30 FPS, they took that one on the chin, and rightfully deserved. And I think that it's good that a head of like a $1 billion thing is forthright and willing to talk, but I'm still.
And that I did talk about that as well. If they didn't see it coming, that's a bigger problem, right? Now, granted, it's the studio than the publisher than them, so you're a couple tiers above where the game's being made, but that's a sign of like bad communication within the infrastructure or hierarchy there. And if they didn't see it coming, they either weren't checking in or weren't paying attention, or people were so nervous about sharing information that they weren't giving the information upwards. And that's a massive problem if you're trying to be a game developer on this scale or publisher on this scale.
Still looking for more action ultimately. It's nice to hear that they are standing by the teams and their creativity, and that they are. I
have no doubt that they're going to work hard to like fix the game.
But that's where we're at with that. If you want to listen to the whole interview,
it's already out there and they're already behind the curve on that.
PlayStation news to talk about, but one last Xbox thing worth mentioning is that there may potentially be things to look forward to. That is, if you are following the whole Summer Game Fest thing. It's kind of replacing E3. Well, around that time in June, Xbox is going to have their showcase event. So mark your calendar. Sunday, June 11th, 10 a.m. Pacific is when
it is hard to tell whether the CEO wanted to talk about this, which is a big deal, which I also covered in an another video. But
that's probably
whether he wanted to talk about this or Redfield,
shows at this point, like,
probably mentioned both though.
For Microsoft, so we're gonna have to see where this goes.
It's hard to avoid the negative news when you're trying to talk about good news, though.
Bungie won a massive lawsuit against someone who was selling cheats to the tune of $12 million US.
Oh, Bungie, this is not.
That's a shit ton of money. Pardon my French. Bungie had been seeking like 11 million.
12 million in damages. This is not the one I heard about. I heard about the guy with Nintendo that's going to pay Nintendo for like the rest of his life, which is awful. But Destiny 2 cheat seller pays 12 million. I wonder if that's based off of like how much income they made off of the cheats, or how do you monetize the that's a lot. That's a massive amount. Oh my god. I mean, it's good though. Like, hopefully this will disincentivize the producers and sellers of cheats to stop making cheats, because people who cheat are terrible people.
And change, and they got it in this court
That's not
case.
a hot take. That's just fact.
Was the cheat seller probably in the wrong? I don't know how the legalities work, but like, you know, we're pretty much anti-cheaters here at Gamerax, but still, it's one person versus a big company with a bunch of lawyers and resources. So it was bound to happen. That sounds absolutely massive too, but you know, check out the link, the sources that are in the description, because there's also details of a Bungie lawsuit from a couple months back that you may not remember, where they sued another cheater and they got like $13 million. So Bungie is not
13 million from a different cheater. This has got to, like, I am on board actually. Like, you go after the people selling the cheats, because cheaters are going to cheat, but they can only do it if people are making the content for them to use. And if you get enough of the cheaters and the guys making the cheats out of the way, the developers of cheats and the sellers of cheats out of the way, then the market will dry up. There will always be a market for someone trying to cheat on video games, because people suck and cheaters are out there. But if you crack down on the sellers and you make it painful so that it's not worth it and they can't monetize it, then hopefully that market dries up. But that's a lot of money being thrown around to talk about going after. And I mean, I guess that's the way it has to be. Like, you have to make it painful. Because if it's just, you know, a fine that they can easily monetize out of, then they're going to keep going. But if it's painful for them, then it's a problem. And I don't know how much these guys made off of selling cheats. I don't know if it's that much, but, you know, we'll see how this affects the cheat marketplace. Crack down on cheaters. Exactly. Get rid of all of them.
Not playing easy on this stuff. Considering that's their whole game, that's their model, I guess that's why they're pursuing it. But hey, have you ever been sued by a company for $1 million bajillion dollars for playing video games? Let us know in the comments.
Have you, chat? Has anyone in chat been sued by a company for millions, bazillions of dollars? I haven't. Not yet. Dare to dream, I guess? I really hope
now,
not.
other news, if we are talking about the higher-ups of these game companies talking about stuff in corporate speak, there is a pretty good interview out there with Herman Hulst, head of PlayStation Studios, who kind of went on record about their whole live service thing. We've talked for a while now that Sony has announced, and that they have been building up on the back end with new developers, essentially a big portfolio of live service style games. Herman Hulst did go on record saying, like, that doesn't mean that we're just going to have a bunch of Destinies and Divisions. He details essentially how they want to have this work for different genres. He's pretty forthcoming with it. It seems like he kind of is aware that like the type of games as a service or live service concept does get a bad rap by some gamers. I don't know if necessarily they're going to change people's minds, but if you want to at least know what they're thinking.
It's interesting because like live service gets a bad rap by gamers, but live service games continue to do well. So it's a love-hate, but like if people keep buying into them, game developers and companies are still going to do them. If they're going to get money off of doing the thing that we say we don't like, then they're going to keep doing it. So the only way for live services to actually take a hit is if gamers stop feeding into the live service hit. I don't know. It's hard. And like everyone talks about maybe not liking live service gaming, but it gets so much money and attention that it's not going to go away anytime soon. So the question is, if we don't like it as a community, why do we keep paying into it? Pretty solid question.
Again, get in the mind of the corpos a little bit. I'll link that. But it's also worth highlighting some good news. It seems like more Sony or PlayStation games ported to PC is going to be a thing, as long as hopefully they're not all like buggy and glitchy when they
continue to do that.
That's been PC ports lately. No, PC.
Yes, continue to port them over, but also stop making the ports bad. So porting good, bad ports bad. Find the middle ground in that statement.
Gamer did a really good deep dive with a lot of Sony's earnings, and they kind of extrapolated that their games that they're putting on PC are actually selling significantly well. So by their estimation and by their numbers, like it seems like a logical thing that's
like cutting yourself down to one platform for availability is not going to be the easiest way to get the largest segment of the market. Agreed.
Sony's going to pursue that. I think, you know, when money is green, they're going to keep doing things, and that's cool, man. Where's Bloodborne?
Yeah.
Oh, now in other news, Amnesia has returned. I mean, not really. I mean, it's been
Amnesia?
around, but essentially the new Amnesia game looks really good. We've known Amnesia the Bunker has been coming for a while. We've gotten little glimpses at it, but now Frictional has released like a 10-minute long gameplay video, and
I think I've heard of it. This is the one where you get like one bullet and you have to like move through a bunker. Looks interesting. I don't know if it's my type of game, but what's the news about?
It seems pretty authentic. A lot of people are pointing out kind of like Penumbra. Also the fact that like they don't show the monster a lot, but it is clearly terrifying. There are weapons. There is also like a hand crank flashlight that seems really unique. They show off the inventory system a little bit, some physics system stuff. It feels like a good mix of like them being a bigger studio now, but still feeling like an authentic kind of old school-ish PC game. I mean, the original Amnesia was such a huge deal, and they put out other stuff, but this just seems promising.
I don't think I played the original. We won't know for sure
until we actually get our hands on it, though. We don't know what the deal really is. I mean, we've only seen the one environment, essentially, the bunker, so far, but it does look creative.
Maybe it's only the bunker.
Too long.
Maybe there is no other environment. We don't know. It's just endless bunker for days. I'm not sure. I don't do a lot of horror games in general, so like I don't know if I'm going to play it, but it looks pretty enough. Like, if you like horror games, it seems like a pretty good concept.
That's coming at the end of May 23rd, and we'll probably make a video on it to run through it, so keep your eyes peeled. Some other things worth highlighting that I will link in the description down below. The first is DLC for Midnight Suns. we thought Midnight Suns was pretty cool here. At first, it got kind of mixed reviews, but it seems like people are really taking to it. The people that have stuck with it have really been digging it, and some of the
never
DLC
played it.
has actually been pretty decent. And now we're getting Storm DLC, which is cool. I just like her. I like X-Men. The more X-Men, the better, if you ask me. But this is called Bloodstorm, and
X-Men are all right. I like Wolverine, and I enjoy the like What If series of comics, but like, I don't know. I think I like the Avengers more than the X-Men. My personal take. I don't remember hearing about this game, or this game was old enough that like I wasn't really paying attention, but it seems turn-based. No, I'm wrong. Well, sorry, not sorry. Like X-Men better, and everyone has their personal opinion, and that's okay, Blue. You're allowed to like X-Men better. I'm just saying my preference. It's a personal thing. It is what it is. You can't change it.
This is actually dropping like next week, May 11th. So there's that. They did announce, unfortunately, though, that they are dropping the Nintendo Switch version of the game. So if you were holding out for that,
well,
that sucks.
Oh,
That's
it's all of Marvel. So it's got both of them.
Prioritize and focus on the DLC. Still, I mean, I wish they made that projection earlier, but yeah, I mean, we just don't like seeing Switch users get left out in the cold. But it's also worth.
Angus, I played a horror game once, died immediately, never looked back. It's not my jam. I learned early on. Kill me once, shame on you. Kill me twice, shame on me, right? That's the mentality. Couldn't figure out what I was meant to like. Yeah, I get that, Angus. I do.
Noting a little highlight for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. You know, I mentioned earlier a lot of games having some busted and buggy releases lately. Survivor on PC was definitely one of them. It was pretty problematic, and Respawn has addressed this, and they have put out updates.
I hate this. Another thing that I already covered, but like this was the worst apology in the world. Like, I'm sorry, you used the wrong Windows. Or did you notice that your GPU and CPU might have a bottleneck? Doesn't sound like an us problem. Such a cop-out. Like, talk about like the first one, Xbox met it head on. Didn't meet our expectations. We didn't see it coming. We missed the mark. Jedi Survivor response. Guys, is your software and hardware good? I don't know.
And we're seeing some reports from some PC users that things are getting a little better. They're also still working on console. There's some issues here and there, and that seems to be developing. I like seeing a game not just released and abandoned, especially on PC.
Yeah,
PC players, I know sometimes it happens to you guys where you may have one issue with your game and the developers never really acknowledge it and they just move on. I'm hoping...
On to the next thing. That problem doesn't exist. I got it out the door, and that's all I care about. And we're done.
That Survivor continues to improve. It seemed like a big hit, sales numbers wise, so I really hope they definitely have the money to. So come on. Still, we talked about it last week. I think underneath all the glitches and bugs and whatever issues you may have with it, it is a cool Star Wars game. I really enjoyed playing it. Oh, and some other news,
Well, that goes to the, like, I think the core of the IP and the core of the game is going to be good. And if they fix all the issues, optimize it, like that one can be turned around fairly easy because the issues with the game are not with the mechanics or the gameplay or the story itself. The issue with that game is all the optimization and delivery of the product. So if they can get all of those taken care of and like leveled out, like it will be a good game. But it's like Cyberpunk. If you take too long to fix those, people are going to stop caring. Like a good game is only a good game as long as people are willing to look back into it. So they have to fix it quickly, but if they do, I think that game could come back and have a really solid development over time and be something worth playing.
I never thought I would actually say out loud, they're making another Shadow Man game. Yeah, it's been like more than a decade. I'm pretty
another
old,
horror
so
game.
I really
Stop
like
with
playing
the horror
original
games.
back on like, what was that? PS1, Nintendo 64. I think there was a Dreamcast version. It even got remastered like just this year. So it makes sense that they're coming out with a new one. It's called Shadow Man Dark Legacy. We don't know too much about it yet, other than that it's coming for all the major platforms in 2024. And the developer is Blowfish Studios, a smaller kind of indie developer. Personally, I haven't really experienced much of their games, but it's kind of cool that they're giving a shot at an IP like this. And believe it or not, it's like a new Shadow Man. You're not playing as Michael. It seems like they ditched him for this new guy, Jack. There was actually a lot of lore behind the original game, and also there was a sequel. People forget that they made a sequel on PlayStation 2, but still, it's been a long time. This is a new character, explorable worlds, action-adventure game with some RPG character progression, and that's all we know. I'm into old things being revived, but I'm also into old things being revived and having something new done with them. This could take Shadow Man lore in a cool...
I think that's a huge one. We've seen it in movies, we've seen it in games, we've seen it in so much. IPs getting a re-release or a remake or makeover, whatever, and it's just kind of the same thing in a new skin. I don't mind IPs coming back as long as it like adds to the franchise, gives me something new, it updates with times. If it's just the same game in a new skin, it's not really worth going back and like reviving these old IPs. It's just not. Make it something modern, new, with new elements to bring like the new generation in and show the evolution. Don't just reskin and ship it out the door.
Direction, who knows? Also, just want to say, if there is life for a new Shadow Man game in 2023, 2024, whatever,
2026, whenever it comes out,
right. Oh, and I gotta link this more Skywind gameplay. We've talked about this before on the channel. This is essentially a massive...
Speaking of what, he's wearing a Max Payne t-shirt. I just noticed that one. I like the original Max Payne's. It was a good concept that I think could be done in a new and exciting way, but I don't think we'll ever get another one of those.
Community project to build Morrowind within the Skyrim engine. It has been a huge project with a bunch of volunteers working on it for many
modders,
years.
always
we
busy.
Got a 20-minute
always getting after
it, and it seems pretty cool. We get to see two-handed weapon and magic wielding, some pretty impressive environments, and just a lot of that representation of the original game that you want to see, especially if you're a little bit older like me. I've just really been a fan of this project from the beginning. Just the transparency, the involvement, and how they get how people have learned on this thing. Like it's just really cool. You love to see it. Also, they put a trailer out for the Gran Turismo movie. Yes,
Gran Turismo movie.
If you weren't paying attention.
It's a racing game. Is it the Gran Turismo movie just watching the Grand Prix? Like, isn't just watching sporting racing events the movie for Gran Turismo? There's no storyline, right? Am I confused? There's no storyline to Gran Turismo. What is the movie?
The movie news, which I get it. This is an actual movie, a dramatic film starring David Harbour, Orlando Bloom, and a couple of other people. I can't remember their names. Essentially focused around someone who is obsessed with video games and is like a pro gamer that gets picked up by the big leagues and becomes an actual racer. And the trailer seems pretty exciting. I like a good racing movie. I like all that stuff. Is this going to be like Ford?
I mean, I saw that movie. It was Top Gear. Top Gear did an episode where they sent, I think it was Richard Hammond, to a racetrack in California, and he had to practice on the video game in between laps on the racetrack to see if the video game would improve his track time after time, and he ended up like saving, I don't know, like 10 seconds. So the gaming helped, but not a lot.
V Ferrari, I don't know, but if they took the Gran Turismo brand and are using that to tell an actual good, compelling story, as long as it doesn't start, like, I'm okay with that. And this is actually apparently kind of based on a true story, so there's that cool angle as well. Also, I just think the movie poster
kind of loosely based. Is it based on the story I just told? Is it based on that story?
Says in big bold letters, from gamer
I doubt
to
it.
racer. I don't know why, like I just look at
from
that
gamer to racer.
Maybe it's just me. But that's the stuff that's
Although during COVID, I do think a lot of professional race teams, they did virtual races during COVID, didn't they? So you had professional racers get into completely set up gaming rigs to do virtual races in their like high tech race car simulators. So I guess maybe
Going on this week. I got to run, unfortunately, but we got a bunch of videos in the works for upcoming games next week or so. I mean, like, what's out? Zelda, that Amnesia I mentioned, Hogwarts Legacy coming to last gen consoles. There's a bunch of stuff out there. So we're going to go, but we definitely want to hear what you guys think in the comments about the news stories.
Yeah, we don't need all that stuff. Thank you for showing us. I don't know. I don't think I missed a lot in the news. There were some updates in there, though. A couple of updates, and really nothing that we haven't really hammered in before. You can subscribe, do this stuff. You want all that? All of that. Hey there, it's Skeg Broggy. Thanks for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and follow me here on Twitch for more awesome content. Link is in the description.